You got option expiration today. We got a nice round number at 6,500 on the E-minis. We did a little bit of a 0-day iron condor in the E-minis here this morning. It's today a chop fest, pin action. 10 points up, go right back down. 10 points down, go right back up, sort of thing. Is that what we're in store for today? I saw all sorts of stats on, this being the biggest August monthly expiration, which you got to take with a grain of salt because the market gets bigger every single month pretty much. So every month you usually hit or get to, those records. But is that what you're thinking for today? Kind of a chop fast pin action of sorts?
I think so. If it's been kind of any indication of the week, I mean, the interesting thing is we're at all-time highs for the S&P, for NASDAQ, and for the Dow. Yeah. Russell has probably been one of the bigger movers of the week off of those inflation numbers, right? And you had inflation is back, and the CPI is back above 3%. PPI had the hottest print in 3 years. And Trump is calling for 300 basis points of cuts. And, there's all this talk still about firing Powell. And you're hearing these other people at the Fed that are sort of vying for that position and talking about rate cuts. It's the only thing to me that can explain why the CME FedWatch tool that we watch so much is pricing in such a high % chance of a rate cut, even though inflation is high. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. I don't really understand it. And it's the only way I think you can make sense of it. But yeah, to your point, it's been a chop fest throughout the week. Things have kind of ping-ponged around. We're at all-time highs, but we really haven't moved a whole lot on the week. And volatility is fairly low. This is also kind of an abnormal week in that, like you said, there's expiration, but there's no VIX expiration this week. It's next week. It was a longer cycle this time around, and to get with volatility too, there is a big difference between August and September VIX. I mean, it's like $2 and change, $2.70 last time I saw. So it's a serious contango situation. So we're at all-time highs. We're probably set to drift higher unless there's other bad news out there, which I don't know. I think it's just going to be fairly quiet.
Yeah, you got next week's volatility futures at 1550, whereas the U contract, which is where will roll into, which is the next expiration, trading at 18 and change, 1840. So it's almost a 3-point difference between our volatility futures. And even further out the curve, you have 20-ish handle going out towards the end of the year, 21 all the way at the end of the year here. So it's a huge contango right now. It's an interesting point. I haven't even looked at that recently. Another question for you. So I'm sure, as somebody who is also in the Twitter sphere, you've been seeing all the UNH stuff. The Daddy Buffett buys, Michael Burry buys, the Tepper's in, everybody's in. What does that mean to you? Do you take that with a grain of salt? Do you think there's a trade there? Is it a trim? If you've been, long it, but taking some pain over the last, 2 months or whatever. What are your thoughts on all those things?
This is why we're here, because very good questions. I've got 2 shows and they're named as such about zebra trades. I for whatever reason, I haven't really wanted to trade a whole ton of things recently. I mean, I guess for whatever reason. We just talked about how low volatility is. So it's not like I'm out there selling puts on a lot of different names. And so it started maybe about a week and change ago. I would just kind of flip the S&P 500 and look for some of the biggest losers on the year. Yeah. And I looked for a couple of names to get long. And I have a whole list. And then I didn't execute most of them because I was kind of a little worried about a pullback. But I was I'm interested in getting some zebras in some names. And UNH was one of them. I had that in the account for the better part of 2 weeks. Just to give you an example, some of the names, Lilly was one of them. CRM is one of them. Merck is one of them. Accenture, Adobe, Chipotle, which I decided against because we've seen what's happened with some of these casual restaurants, right? Chipotle, Sweet Green, we know that story. So I decided against that. And I didn't put all of these on, but these were the names I was looking at. Lulu is another. TTD was another, but I was I'm not sure. And so my criteria essentially was if you're down more than 20% 25% on the year, and you're at least like a $50 billion company, I'm kind of interested in getting long. And UNH was one of them I jumped on. I made like a solid like 75% on that name. I did trim.
Mm-hmm.
If whoever kept it, great. I actually still have some of my long-term account, but whoever kept it, great. But I feel like this has been a pretty decent strategy for names that have been beat down, especially UNH, and clearly Uncle Warren does too. And so a lot of people clearly decided to buy that name. It's been beat down. We know the reasons. I mean, the unfortunate situation with the CEO last year, and then there's just been a lot of other noise around it. But I mean, I think it's kind of awesome that for those who held, good thing. Congrats to the winners.
Yeah, another one of the stories of the day is the Intel situation where Trump kind of flip-flopped with fire the CEO, and then also maybe the U.S. will just like buy some of Intel and just kind of like, put their hands in there. Intel trading at $24.76 here. It's rallied about $3 over the last, 24 to 48 hours. Do you have any interest in that name with this sort of news? I'm trying to see if you think some of these are like buy the rumor, sell the news type events. Like we got this, if you've been long and it's been a pig, like Intel, the last, 6 months looks like the last couple months in UNH where you've just been chopping around 300 in UNH. It's like nothing has happened. Is this kind of a, take some chips off the table, or is this a new trend?
I don't know. Intel is interesting, and personally, I don't think it's that interesting. I will say I am not that interested in Intel. I think there's other chip names that you can get into, but it is fascinating that the government is potentially, again, this is like you said, it is a rumor. I mean, we haven't seen any action on it yet. This is not like the MP material situation, which, by the way, I hadn't looked at that stock in a while. I didn't realize it was upwards of 75 now.
Yeah, that was a quick double.
Situation. Right. Yeah. I mean, that was a different situation. So I don't know. I mean, I guess if they actually do buy into Intel, maybe it's interesting. But outside of that, the rumor is, not as interesting to me. I would say what's a little more interesting is all of these people. Look, AI is still a big story. You've heard two people now talk about the idea of buying Google Chrome. That is really funny. That Perplexity, an $18 billion company, mentioned the idea of giving $34 billion for Google Chrome, but okay, whatever. And then this morning, Sam Altman said he would be interested. So it's a reminder that search engines are essentially AI, and AI can probably eventually make them better. Yeah, maybe that's something we'll see going forward. And then the last thing for me, I think is interesting is the IPO market, dude. The IPO market has been hot recently. I didn't even know Miami Stock Exchange was IPOing their stock. They IPO'd yesterday, MyX. You got the bullish stock. You got Circle, obviously. It's been IPO'd for a while. Figma, we know about. CoreWeave, obviously, is going through something right about now, but that's one of the more recent IPOs. And I didn't know Chime came out with an IPO. So we got a lot of new names, boys, to play around with.
Yeah. Liquidity, baby. It's here.
Absolutely.
We are liquid. I think the UNH move is obviously big, but I still think implied volatility is a little low relative to potential realized volatility.
It's going to pop. I think you're going to see volatility expand there. I think this morning will be an interesting time to put something on if you want to, or if you don't have anything on there. So
I hope it keeps running. That's going to be awesome if it does.
Yeah.
I also too have. I had to tease this because I have I talked about all these zebras I put on. UPS was one of the names I put a zebra in on too. And then I just got an email this morning about a dividend, and I realized I'm going to have to close it because the short strike that I am. I'll talk about it today, but the idea of dividend risk in a name, I have a situation, and it's a good situation to be in. It's in the money options, but I'm going to have to do something about it because of the dividend. I'll talk about it with Errol.
If you're not subscribed, subscribe right here. And if you want to meet me and the team in person at our next live event, hit the link at the top of the description.